I thought I was securing my parents' safety with $20,000. But that money didn't just vanish. It plunged me into a nightmare of betrayal, kidnapping, and a ruthless man who threatened to destroy everything I loved. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and quiet triumph filled my small office. I had just landed the biggest client of my career, a project I'd been chasing for 6 months. My boss had practically skipped into my office, shaking my hand so hard I thought he'd dislocate my shoulder. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could finally breathe. All the late nights, the sacrificed weekends, the constant gnawing pressure, it had all been worth it. I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window at the bustling city below, and allowed myself a small, genuine smile. I felt competent, in control. This feeling was exactly why I'd sent my parents the money 3 days ago. 20,000. It was a significant chunk of my savings, but seeing the transaction completed notification had filled me with a warmth that no client approval ever could. They had poured their life savings into a small dasha, a little cottage in the countryside where they could finally rest. But the place was old, and the roof was leaking. Winter was coming, and the thought of my mother putting buckets down to catch drips, or my father trying to climb a ladder with his bad knee, was a horror I couldn't bear. This money was for a new roof. It was for their peace, their safety. It was my way of saying, "You took care of me, now let me take care of you." My phone buzzed on the desk, pulling me from my reverie. It was Mom. I smiled and picked up. "Hi, Mom. How's the DACA life treating you?" "Oh, Olga, hello, my sweet." Her voice was warm as always, but there was a faint tremor of anxiety beneath it, a frequency only a daughter could detect. "Everything is lovely. The apple tree is heavy with fruit this year. Your father says we'll have enough for pies until spring." "That's great, Mom. I can almost taste them already." I swiveled in my chair, my good mood still buoying me. "So, did you talk to the contractors? Did they give you a start date for the roof?" There was a pause, a little too long. "Well, that's actually why I'm calling, dear. I didn't want to bother you. I know how busy you are." "Mom, it's never a bother. What's wrong?" "It's just, Olga, the transfer didn't arrive. Maybe a bank glitch? Please check," she said, her voice small and apologetic, as if she were somehow responsible for the inconvenience. My smile faded. Annoyance, hot and quick, pricked at me. Not at her, never at her. At the bank. A glitch? Seriously? I sent it on Tuesday. It should have been there by Wednesday at the latest. I pulled up my banking app, my fingers tapping impatiently on the screen. "Don't worry, Mom. I'm looking at it right now. It says here, clear as day, completed. The money has left my account. They're probably just slow on your end. It's a small-town bank, after all." "Maybe," she said, though she didn't sound convinced. "Your father is worried. The foreman, Mr. Petrov, he wants a deposit to buy the materials before the prices go up again." "I understand. Listen, don't you or Dad worry about a thing. I'll call the bank right now and sort this out. It's their mistake, and they will fix it. I'll call you back as soon as I have an answer." "Okay, my love. Thank you." We hung up, and the triumphant feeling I'd been enjoying all morning evaporated, replaced by the familiar weight of responsibility. This was just another problem to solve. I was Olga, the problem solver. I took a deep breath and dialed my bank's customer service line. The hold music was a tinny, soulless loop of jazz that grated on my nerves. After what felt like an eternity navigating automated menus, press 1 for account balances. Press 2 for transaction inquiries. A human voice finally came on the line. "Thank you for calling Premier Bank. My name is Mark. How can I assist you today?" I explained the situation calmly and clearly. I gave him the transaction ID, the amount, the date, my parents' full names, and their account number, which I had memorized. I could hear him typing on his end. "Yes, ma'am, I see the transaction," he said after a moment. "It shows here that the transfer for 20,000 was processed and completed on Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. "Exactly," I said, a bit of an edge to my voice. "It's been completed on my end, but it never arrived on theirs. Their account balance is unchanged. Can you please trace it and see where the holdup is?" "One moment, please." He put me back on hold. The dreadful jazz music started up again. I drummed my fingers on the desk, my gaze fixed on the transaction details on my screen. I double-checked the account number I'd sent it to. It was correct. I'd copied it directly from the text my mom sent me. I had even called her back to read it out loud, digit by digit, to confirm. I never, ever made mistakes with things like this. My brother Alex, he was the one who was careless with details. I was the meticulous one. The minutes stretched on. My annoyance began to curdle into a real, cold knot of anxiety in my stomach. What if the money was just gone? 20,000 was not something I could just shrug off and send again. Ma'am, are you still there? Mark's voice cut through the music. Yes, I'm here. Did you find it? His tone had changed. Before, he was just a bored customer service agent. Now there was a note of caution, of professional distance that set my teeth on edge. Ma'am, I have reviewed the transaction details from the recipient bank's side as well. And? I prompted, my heart starting to beat a little faster. According to their records, the funds were successfully deposited into the specified account on Tuesday afternoon. I let out a breath of relief. Oh, thank God. So it's there? Maybe their online system just hasn't updated. I'll call my mom and tell her to go to the branch. Ma'am, he said, his voice firm, stopping me short. There's more. The records show that the full amount was withdrawn from that account in cash from an ATM early Wednesday morning. The air left my lungs. What, withdrawn? That's impossible. My parents haven't touched the account. My father can barely walk to the end of their garden, let alone drive an hour to the nearest town with a proper ATM. Who withdrew it? I'm afraid I cannot disclose that information due to privacy policies, ma'am. But I can confirm one thing for you. I can verify the name of the primary account holder for the account number you sent the funds to. Please, I whispered, a sense of dread washing over me. The account is in the name of my mother, Elena Petrova. There was another silence, this one heavier than all the others. I could hear the faint click of his keyboard. Then he spoke, and his words shattered my world into a million pieces. No, ma'am, he said, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. The account you transferred 20,000 to is registered under the name Katerina Volkov. Katerina Volkov. The name echoed in the silent space between my ear and the phone receiver. It was a name I had never heard before, a combination of syllables that meant nothing to me, yet it had just become the axis upon which my world had violently tilted. No, I said, my voice barely a whisper. No, that's impossible. You must be mistaken. The account belongs to Elena Petrova, my mother. Ma'am, I have the official record right here. Mark's voice was patient, but firm, the kind of tone you use with someone who is hysterical. The account ending in 8842 to which your funds were transferred is registered solely to a Katerina Volkov. I've double and triple checked. My blood ran cold. My hands started to shake and I gripped the edge of my desk to steady them. Let me call you back, I mumbled, hanging up before he could reply. My mind was racing, a chaotic storm of possibilities. A scam? Had my mother's phone been hacked? Had I somehow been targeted? It didn't make sense. I was so careful. With trembling fingers, I navigated to my text messages. I scrolled back to Tuesday, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. There it was, the message with the bank details. I stared at the account number, comparing it to the one on my banking app. Digit for digit, it was a perfect match. Ending in 8842. My eyes then drifted upwards, to the contact name at the top of the screen. And that's when I saw it. The breath I was holding escaped in a choked gasp. The message wasn't from Mom. It was from Alex, my brother, my charming, irresponsible, perpetually in trouble younger brother. The memories flooded back in a sickening rush. I had called Mom for the details, but she was flustered, saying she wasn't good with the banking app. Let me ask Alex, dear, she had said. He helps me with these things. He's right here. A few minutes later, the text with the account number had arrived, from Alex's phone. I had been so busy, so focused on getting it done, I hadn't even registered the difference. I just saw the numbers and trusted them. I trusted him. A rage, unlike anything I had ever felt before, surged through me, hot and blinding. It burned away the shock, leaving behind a cold, hard certainty. I dialed his number. He picked up on the second ring, his voice infuriatingly cheerful. Olga, hey, what's up? Did you hear about your big win at work? Dad told me. We should celebrate. Where is my money, Alex? I said, my voice low and dangerous, devoid of any warmth. The cheerfulness in his voice vanished. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me. It won't work this time. 20,000. I sent it for Mom and Dad's roof. I sent it to the account number you gave me, an account belonging to some woman named Katerina Volkov. The money was withdrawn the next morning. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Where is it? Silence. I could hear his shallow breathing on the other end of the line. He was cornered. I could practically smell his fear. Olga, I can explain, he started, his voice a pathetic whine. Explain? I laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Explain how you stole from our parents. Explain how you let them sit there for days, worrying and waiting, while you and your Katerina were spending the money for their new roof, their safety. It's not like that. I was going to pay it back, I swear, he pleaded, his voice cracking. I just needed it for a little while. I got into some trouble, Olga, some bad debt. These guys, they were going to hurt me. Debt? Again, Alex? How many times have I bailed you out? How many times have Mom and Dad drained their savings to clean up your messes? My voice rose with every word. But this is different. This isn't just irresponsible. This is cruel. This is theft. Please, Olga, don't tell them, he begged, sobbing now. Please, it would kill Dad. You know his heart. And Mom, she would never forgive me. I'll get the money back, I promise. Katerina's selling her car. We can get most of it. Just give me a week. Please, sister. Sister. The word was a knife in my gut. I looked at the picture on my desk, the three of us years ago, smiling in the summer sun at that very Dasha he had just condemned to another winter of leaks and drafts. My fury warred with a deep, aching wave of betrayal. He had used my love for our parents against me. He had used my trust. A week? I repeated, my voice hollow. Mr. Petrov needs the deposit now, Alex. Winter isn't going to wait a week for you to fix your life. I'll talk to him. I'll tell him there's a bank delay. Just please, don't tell them. I closed my eyes, the weight of his secret crushing me. He was right. Telling them would devastate them. My father's health was fragile, and my mother lived to see her children happy. This truth would shatter her world. But covering for him felt like a betrayal of a different kind. I was caught in an impossible trap of his making. As I stood there, frozen in indecision, my phone vibrated with another call. It was Mom. My heart leaped into my throat. I couldn't talk to her. Not now. I let it go to voicemail. A second later, a text message from her appeared on my screen. Olga, sweetheart, please call me. A very strange man just came to the dacha. He's asking for Alex. He says Alex owes his boss a lot of money, and he knows that a large sum was just deposited into his girlfriend's account. He won't leave. My blood turned to ice. Before I could even process her words, another text message lit up my phone. It was from an unknown number. There were no words, just a single, grainy photograph. It was a picture of Katerina Volkov. She was tied to a chair in a dimly lit room, her eyes wide with terror. The world went silent. The bustling city outside my window, the hum of the office, my own frantic heartbeat, it all faded into a dull, distant roar. All I could see was the face on my screen. Katerina Volkov, a woman whose name I had only learned minutes ago, now staring at me from a photograph that screamed violence and desperation. She was younger than I'd imagined, with dark hair matted around her face. A piece of silver duct tape was stretched cruelly across her mouth, but her eyes, wide and pleading, spoke volumes. They were begging for help. Alex, I said, my voice barely a whisper, a cold dread seeping into my bones and turning them to ice. What have you done? On the other end of the line, his frantic sobs had turned into choked, terrified gasps. Oh God, no. They found her. I told her to hide. Olga, you have to help me. They're animals. They'll kill her. Who, Alex? Who are they? My mind was struggling to catch up, to piece together the nightmare that was rapidly unfolding. A strange man at my parents' dasha, a kidnapped woman, a debt. It all pointed to something far more serious than the gambling losses or failed business ventures I was used to cleaning up after him. It was a business deal, he stammered, his words tumbling over each other in a panicked rush. I thought it was legitimate. I just had to hold some money for them, a cash investment. But it was dirty money, Olga. I found out too late. I spent some of it. I thought I could replace it before they needed it back. But they wanted it all, and they wanted it yesterday. They said if I didn't have it, they'd take it out on me or someone I cared about. My money, the 20,000. It hadn't been for a gambling debt. He had used my parents' roof money to try and plug a hole in a sinking ship of criminality. And in doing so, he hadn't just stolen from our family. He'd painted a target on the back of this woman, Katerina, and now, indirectly, on my parents. A man is at the dasha, Alex, I said, my voice dangerously calm. He's at Mom and Dad's house, right now. He knows about the money. A strangled cry came down the line. No, I told them to leave our family out of it. I gave them Katerina's address as insurance. I never thought they'd go after my parents. Of course you didn't, I thought, a bitter, furious part of my brain taking over. You never think. You just act. You just take, and you leave everyone else to deal with the shrapnel. Listen to me very carefully, I commanded, my own fear momentarily eclipsed by a surge of protective adrenaline for my parents. You are going to do exactly as I say. First, you are not to go anywhere near Mom and Dad. Do you understand? You will only make things worse. Second, you are going to tell me who these people are. I need a name, Alex. Right now. Igor, he whispered, his voice trembling. His name is Igor Volkov. I stopped. Volkov? The same last name as Katerina? He's her ex-husband, Alex choked out. That's how this all started. She left him because he was into this stuff. He found me. He knew I was weak, that I was always looking for a shortcut. He used me to launder money, and he used my connection to Katerina to keep her in his orbit. He's obsessed with her. He said if she wouldn't be with him, he'd make sure she couldn't be with anyone else. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. This wasn't just about money. This was twisted. It was about possession, control. Igor hadn't just taken Katerina. He was making a point, and my brother, my stupid, foolish brother, had handed him the perfect weapon, a trail that led directly back to our family. Igor knew about the 20,000. He knew where my parents lived. He was tightening the noose, not just around Alex, but around all of us. My office, my career, my big client win, it all felt like it was from another lifetime. My only reality now was the grainy photo on my phone and the image of a stranger menacing my elderly parents in their one safe place on Earth. I have to get to them, I said, grabbing my purse and keys, my body moving on autopilot. Stay on the phone with me, Alex. You need to call the police. No, he shouted, his panic escalating. No police, Olga. You don't understand. Igor has connections. If the police get involved, he'll know it was me. He'll hurt them. He'll hurt Katerina. He said he would. He's not bluffing. I froze, my hand on the doorknob. He was right. A man who would send a thug to an old couple's cottage and kidnap his ex-wife was not a man who would be deterred by a police report. He would see it as a declaration of war. We were playing by his rules now. Just then, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't a call or a text. It was a location pin, dropped from the same unknown number that had sent the photo. It was a warehouse district down by the industrial port, a part of the city people avoided even in broad daylight. Beneath the pin was a new message, 4 simple words that made my heart stop. Come alone. Bring the cash. The message was a punch to the gut. Bring the cash. What cash? The cash Alex had stolen, the cash that had been withdrawn from Katerina's account, the cash that was now, I assumed, in the hands of this monster, Igor. It was a taunt, a cruel, impossible demand designed to make me feel helpless. He didn't want the money back. He already had it. He wanted me. He wanted to see the fear in my eyes, to break the responsible older sister who had, in his twisted view, financed his rival's escape. Alex, I said, my voice as steady as I could make it, the office walls feeling like they were closing in. He's asking for the money. He knows I don't have it. This is a trap. I, I have some of it, Alex stammered, his voice a pathetic thread. Katerina. She didn't withdraw at all. She was too scared. She only took out 5,000 for us to run on. She gave it to me right before they took her. The rest, Igor must have forced her to withdraw it later, or he got the card from her. 5,000. It was nothing. A pittance. But it was something. A flicker of a plan, desperate and terrifying, began to form in my mind. Where are you, Alex? Hiding. In an old internet cafe near the station. Stay there. Don't move. Don't speak to anyone. I'm coming to you first. The taxi ride through the city was a blur of traffic lights and indifferent faces. My world had shrunk to the size of a ticking clock. I had two fronts to fight on: the immediate threat to my parents and the looming danger to Katerina. One call solved the first problem. I dialed my father's old army buddy, Uncle Semyon, a retired police colonel with a presence that could intimidate a tank. I told him a sanitized version of the truth, that Alex had a debt and a man was at the dacha making threats. Within minutes, Semyon confirmed he and his two hulking sons were on their way. My parents would be safe. That left Katerina and me. I found Alex huddled in a dark corner of the cafe, his face pale and tear-streaked. He looked less like a man and more like a frightened child. He pushed a thick envelope of cash across the table towards me without a word. I took it, my hand brushing his. It was cold and clammy. For a moment, I saw the little brother I used to protect from bullies in the schoolyard. The anger I felt towards him was still there, a hot coal in my chest, but it was now overlaid with a grim sense of duty. He was my blood. This was my mess to fix. Give me your phone, I said. He handed it over. I texted the unknown number from his phone. This is Alex. I can't get all of it. My sister is involved now. She's furious. She's threatening to go to the police and expose your entire operation. She says she has proof. It was a wild bluff, but it was all I had. I needed to shift the power dynamic, to make Igor believe I was not just another victim, but a threat. The reply was almost instant. She's bluffing. I took a deep breath and texted back from my own phone. My name is Olga. I'm a senior project manager at a top international firm. I document everything. Transactions, phone records, security footage from the bank where your ex-wife was forced to withdraw cash. Unlike my brother, I am not scared of you. I am a professional. You have created a liability, and I will burn your whole world down to protect my family. Let Katerina go, and I will make this all disappear. Continue this, and I will become the most expensive mistake you have ever made. I attached a file. It was nothing, just a heavily redacted, official-looking document from my last corporate merger. But I hoped in his rage, he wouldn't look too closely. I was banking on the arrogance of men like him. They underestimated women. They saw us as emotional, hysterical. They never saw us as calculating. The silence that followed was the longest minute of my life. My phone buzzed. It was a new address. A coffee shop, a public place, halfway between the warehouse and my current location. You, alone. 10 minutes. I stood up, tucking the envelope of cash into my bag. Go home, Alex, I said, not looking at him. Call Mom and Dad. Tell them you made a mistake and that you're going to fix it. Start now. The coffee shop was brightly lit and half full. I chose a small table by the window and ordered a black coffee I had no intention of drinking. Every person who walked through the door sent a jolt of fear through me. 5 minutes later, a man sat down opposite me. He was impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, his face handsome in a severe, cruel way. It was Igor. He didn't look like a thug. He looked like a banker. You have courage, Olga, he said, his voice a low purr. More than your brother, that's for sure. This isn't about courage, I replied, meeting his gaze, my hands clasped tightly in my lap to stop them from shaking. This is a cost-benefit analysis. The cost of continuing to harass my family and hold Katerina is now greater than the benefit. I am your exit strategy. He laughed, a cold, empty sound. You think you can threaten me? I think you're a businessman, I said calmly, and this is bad business. Katerina is gone. She doesn't want you. This public, messy kidnapping, it draws attention. It creates risk. For what? Pride? pride doesn't pay your bills or keep you out of prison. I pushed the envelope across the table. This is 5,000, a gesture of goodwill, to compensate you for the inconvenience my brother has caused. He looked at the envelope, then back at me. A flicker of something, surprise, respect, in his dark eyes. He was used to dealing with scared, weeping victims. He wasn't used to dealing with a project manager laying out a risk assessment. And Katerina? He asked. You let her go, unharmed. You walk away from her, from my brother, from my family. In return, I make all my proof disappear. The police reports are never filed. The bank investigations are canceled. Your name is never mentioned. You go back to your business, and we go back to our lives. The alternative is mutually assured destruction. Your choice. He stared at me for a long time, his eyes searching mine for any sign of weakness. I held his gaze, channeling every ounce of professional steel I possessed, the same focus I used to close million-dollar deals. Finally, a slow smile spread across his face. He picked up the envelope. Your brother is a lucky man to have you as a sister, he said, standing up. She'll be at the bus station on the north side of town in 1 hour. And just like that, he turned and walked out, disappearing into the evening crowd. I didn't breathe until he was gone. Then I let my head fall into my hands, the adrenaline leaving me in a wave of trembling exhaustion. An hour later, I was at the bus station, and I saw her. Katerina. She was pale and had a bruise on her cheek, but she was alive. She was free. We didn't say much. I bought her a bus ticket to a city far away where she had a cousin, gave her the last few $100s from my wallet, and watched as she boarded, a ghost disappearing into a new life. When I finally got home late that night, my apartment felt like a sanctuary. The victory at work seemed a lifetime ago, a triviality from a world I no longer inhabited. My phone rang. It was my mother. Olga, Semyon and the boys were here, she said, her voice filled with a mixture of confusion and relief. That man left. Dad is fine. Alex called too. He was crying. He said he was sorry, that he would explain everything. Olga, what is happening? I sank onto my sofa, the exhaustion hitting me like a physical blow. It's a long story, Mom, I said, my voice thick with emotion. But it's over now. Everyone is safe. There would be consequences for Alex. Our relationship was fractured, perhaps irrevocably. Trust, once shattered, is a hard thing to rebuild. But as I sat there in the quiet of my apartment, I knew one thing for sure. The $20,000 was gone, but it had bought something far more valuable than a new roof. It had bought my family another chance. And as for the roof, I'd handle it. After all, I was Olga, the problem solver, and my family was the most important project I would ever have.